Avatar brought to life a fantastical universe that took the world by storm. With the release of the long-awaited sequel, Avatar: The Way of Water, many people are revisiting the original film, with some discovering the world of Pandora for the very first time. This imaginative world was unlike anything audiences had ever seen before in live action. For anime fans though, some elements may feel oddly familiar. In fact, Avatar writer and director James Cameron is quite often open about his affinity with anime. He stated in interviews that he keeps up to date with the work of the anime director Hayao Miyazaki, citing 2 of his films as an inspiration for Avatar, and has directly adapted an anime to live action with Alita: Battle Angel. Looking at his older work, the homage to anime seems to continue. In this video, we'll explore 3 anime films that James Cameron cited as inspirations for Avatar and the world of Pandora. Once you strip back the scenery, Avatar's core concept is humans transferring their consciousness to host bodies, avatars.
This is great.
James Cameron cites the anime film Ghost in the Shell as a direct inspiration for this. In the world of this anime, human consciousness can be transferred into cybernetic bodies. The iconic title sequence shows one of these empty bodies suspended and flowing through liquid tubes, just like how we're introduced to the avatars. While Avatar uses this concept primarily as a plot device, Ghost in the Shell goes much deeper. We follow Major Motoko as she grapples with her identity and existence, wondering whether the small amount of organic matter within her cybernetic body or shell classifies her as human. The story plays out in a gritty, cyberpunk vision of the future, similar to the Earth scenes at the start of Avatar. Ghost in the Shell also directly compares the complex networks of computing with genetics. It suggests the DNA is similar to a program that uses genes as a kind of intergenerational memory.
それを言うなら、あなたたちの DNA もまた自己保存のためのプログラムに過ぎない。主としての生命は遺伝子という記憶システムを持ち。
It's a network. It's a global network, and the Na'vi can access it. They can upload and download data, memories.
Avatar also uses the concept of a natural living network with intergenerational memory for the Na'vi to connect with too.
We call these 3 Sutrayamokri. The tree of voices. The voices of our ancestors.
This is also how they share their consciousness with other beings. This process is similar to how Major Motoko uses cortical jacks to send her ghost, or consciousness, into the beings and networks. If this is reminding you of The Matrix, it's because that too was heavily inspired by Ghost in the Shell, even down to the scrolling green titles. This film has been a major source of inspiration across all of Hollywood. Once you've seen it, you'll begin to see the homages across a huge breadth of media. It's one of the best anime films ever made, and a great example of how animation is not just for kids. While it's punctuated with great sci-fi action, Ghost in the Shell also takes its time to slow down and reflect on some of the deep, existential themes. On the surface, it's simply exploring our personal relationship with technology, but it provokes deeper contemplation about our mental relationship to our physical bodies, our virtual identity versus our physical identity, and the difficulty of intimacy and interpersonal connections. James Cameron called it a stunning work of speculative fiction, and if you've never seen Ghost in the Shell, we highly recommend it.
This is why we're here. Unobtainium. Because this little gray rock sells for 20 million a kilo. Their damn village happens to be resting on the richest unobtainium deposit within 200 clicks in any direction. I mean, look at all that cheddar.
In Avatar, humans have come to Pandora to extract unobtainium. This rare stone is a powerful energy source, a superconductor at room temperature. Its ability to levitate causes islands of land masses to naturally float in the air. The sacred tree of Na'vi is rooted around the largest source of unobtainium that the humans have detected, provoking the entire conflict of the film.
見たまえこの巨大な飛行石を。これこそラピュタの力の根源なのだ。
Laputa, Castle in the Sky, features a rare stone called Ethereum with the ability to levitate. It's the source of power for an ancient civilization, levitating their titular castle in the sky. This floating island features a giant sacred tree, whose roots protect the largest source of Ethereum that's ever been discovered. This sacred tree is perceived as nothing more than an irritating inconvenience to the bad guy, desperate to obtain the stone. And with his disdain for nature, love for advanced technology, and his militarized forces, Avatar's antagonists have a lot in common. Similar to Jake Sully meeting Neytiri, the protagonist of Laputa is a young boy who meets a girl who is a descendant from the mythical floating island. The two stand up against the greedy bad guy, culminating in a climactic ending in Laputa, just like the climax in Avatar of the Hallelujah Mountains. There's even scenes of our hero climbing the roots to scale the floating island. James Cameron confirmed in an interview that Laputa was an inspiration for the floating islands. The same interviewer asked if the unique creatures, complex ecosystem, and connective network of plants and animals was a reference to Princess Mononoke, which he also confirmed. For the very opening shots, the connections are uncanny. A young man named Ashitaka comes to a mining town that is locked in conflict with the natural inhabitants of a sacred forest. After encountering a girl who calls that place home, Ashitaka chooses to defend the forest from those trying to clear it for its resources. Avatar's story mirrors Princess Mononoke so closely that some people have accused it of being a rip-off. Jake Sully and Ashitaka are both outsiders who betray the industrialized miners to be with the forest princess. Both Neytiri and San are immediately wary of the outsider, but gradually soften to their support, eventually working alongside them. We learn about the spiritual connection between the plants and imaginative creatures of the ancient forests that the antagonists of the film have no understanding or respect for. Jake Sully and Ashitaka both end up being the heroes of the conflict that they were thrust into, and despite all their efforts, a spiritual symbol of the forest is eventually destroyed.
好きにさせておけば悪さはしない。森が豊かな印だ。お前たちの母親か。立派な木だ。
What are they?
Seeds of the sacred tree. Very pure spirits.
Although they looked vastly different, both films even feature sprites that embody the spirit of the forest, who are the children of a mother tree. While the similarities appear obvious, and James Cameron did cite Princess Mononoke as an inspiration from Pandora, calling it a rip-off isn't quite justified. The first treatment for Avatar was written as early as 1994, 3 years before Princess Mononoke was released. While James Cameron had already put a pen to paper, there was still plenty of time between the release of Princess Mononoke and Avatar for its creative influence to find its way into the film. The whole careers of James Cameron and Hayao Miyazaki seem to mirror in some ways. Both began their directing career in the 80s and consistently focused their stories on environmentalist themes with the deliberate inclusion of strong female characters. Their first original concept films both imagined futures after a nuclear apocalypse, with robots shedding their flesh and shooting lasers. They even shared the same release year of 1984. The emphasis on the spiritual significance and superiority of the natural world permeates much of their work. And while James Cameron has an obsession with the ocean, Miyazaki has his obsession with the skies. These surface-level similarities are about as far as that connection goes, though. While James Cameron has cited Miyazaki as an inspiration for Avatar, Cameron's work doesn't quite reach the thematic depth that Miyazaki achieves. Common criticism for Avatar is that it feels shallow and forgettable, whereas Princess Mononoke delivered us an almost identical story with far more nuance and enduring relevance. Avatar gives us one-dimensional characters that are almost comically evil, where Princess Mononoke presents a conflict where everyone's motivations feel justified. Princess Mononoke is an allegorical fantasy set in the real historical period of Japan, with the forest's spiritual connectivity rooted in Shintoism. This adds layers of depth and a meaning to the film. The world of Pandora is beautiful, but empty. Princess Mononoke does a layered work that clearly communicates the environmentalist message that Avatar strived to, while also delivering some deeper themes of the nature of humanity and colonialism. If you've never seen Princess Mononoke, it's an absolute must-watch. If you enjoyed Avatar and are looking for some more anime recommendations, we've got more for you. While most people remember the world of Pandora, the original film begins in a neon cyberpunk dystopia. The new series Cyberpunk Edgerunners features a character down on their luck in the same futuristic setting as the game, Cyberpunk 2077. While the game let a lot of people down with its huge amount of glitches, this anime is actually amazing. We watch our protagonist get an illegal military-grade cybernetic upgrade and fall in with the dark underbelly of the futuristic city. We won't spoil it from there, but if you want more of Avatar's dystopian vision of the future, check out Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Avatar bodies enable humans to explore the exotic world of Pandora, almost like they've crossed over into a fantasy world akin to Alice in Wonderland or Narnia in The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. If that kind of fantasy storytelling is something you're into, there is a whole genre of anime that does this called Isekai. The basic formula involves someone who lives a mundane life who suddenly finds themselves in a fantasy world. There's often specific rules to their fantasy world too. Like Re:Zero, where every time the protagonist dies, they respawn back in time to try it all again. Very similar to Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow, which itself was inspired by the Japanese work All You Need Is Kill. If you want some great isekai anime recommendations, ask us in the comments below or check out our podcast episode, which we've linked in the description. Avatar was a groundbreaking film from a legendary sci-fi director that loves anime, so of course anime had a huge impact on its development. Anime has been a source of inspiration for Hollywood for decades, and will continue to be one for decades to come. Check out our video about anime inspiration for Stranger Things and our video comparing the Northman and Vinland Saga. We'll be making even more videos, so hit subscribe to stay tuned, and hit the like button to help people find this video. If you're able to support us on Patreon, that would be amazing. We're a very small team and we need all the help that we can get. If you notice any more connections between Avatar and anime, then list them in the comments below. See you next time!